The Mind.Shift.Podcasts are brought to you by the Quantum Living Corporation and are based on the emotional alchemy principles of Dr. Craig Farney, whose goal is to rewrite the human operating system, one thought at a time.
Welcome to Mind Shift with the Emotional Alchemist, where transformation begins from the inside out. I'm Dr. Craig Farney, and I help people like you every day uncover the beliefs that run their lives, which then allows me to help them rewire their subconscious thinking and help them finally to begin to feel at peace within their own skin. So welcome back to another episode of Mind Shift. I have another special guest from my BNI group. This is Devyn Koob.
Yes.
We were just talking about beforehand if Koob relates to Scoob, because you're a big fan of Scooby-Doo.
Obsessed.
So, and I was asking you, is that where it started because of your name? So tell me a little bit about that.
So my obsession with Scooby started when I was really little. I had a Scooby plush that was like that big. I have a photo of me actually like holding him and I have a big cheesy grin and I'm just in pajamas.
Right.
I've just been obsessed with him for forever. I don't really know where it started. I think he was just one of my morning cartoons and I love animals and it was fun.
Gotcha.
And they were solving mysteries.
Right.
So just kind of growing up, it wasn't until middle school that people started kind of like giving me nicknames with my last name. So then it started to be Kooby, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And so when Roller became along, and I was like, I need a name for it.
Right.
And so then I was just like, you know what, Kooby-Doo, let's do it.
Right.
And then I always watched Scooby-Doo on Channel 63, was Cartoon Network. And so that was my number. I used 63 for it, so I was Scooby-Doo.
Okay. And you said also that you wanted to marry Scooby?
Yes. Yeah. I was just obsessed. I didn't know. I was just like, want to just keep Scooby as close to me as possible. Right. So when I was like 3, I was dead set on marrying that dog. It was really weird.
Right. So each person I've interviewed, we kind of hit a little bit different aspect of our mindset. And you get to talk about relationships.
Yes.
You know, because you wanted to marry a dog when you were a child.
Yes, yep.
So no weird start to begin with. And you had a recent major shift in your mind about relationships.
I did.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So earlier this year I was married and now I am no longer married. That was a pretty big shift. Was in this relationship for 12 years, my entire adult life.
Right.
I met him 2 weeks after I turned 18, and it's been, I don't know what it's like to be alone as an adult.
Right.
So, and not be like attached to somebody. So that was a really big shift. And I've been going through a lot. I've been doing a lot of like soul searching and just trying to like sort things out mentally. And it's been very interesting, to say the least. I'm totally a different person, at least in my opinion, than I was at the beginning of the year.
So what's one of the big things you have found in your soul searching?
It is okay for things to not go as you've planned them.
Okay.
There's a quote that I've loved for years. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, you must let go things that you have planned in order for those that are coming to you, or something. It's by Joseph Campbell. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's one that I've always held near and dear and never really knew why.
Right.
But this year it really just hit me and I'm like, okay, I need to maybe let go of something that I've been planning towards if it's not necessarily what I want in life, and maybe try to see what else life has for me.
Right. So I kind of want to hit it from 3 perspectives. One is what leads us into a certain aspect, 2, what we experience in it, and then what we do with it, you know, because there is no perfect relationship. Excuse me just a sec. Sorry.
All good.
That's my mother.
Oh, fun.
So we'll put a little pause in there, or maybe not, you know, maybe we'll just have fun since we're talking about relationships. But let me give her a quick text and let her know I will call her back.
So speaking of relationships, you know,
we're going to tie that in because parental relationships are a huge factor in what we go into. It lays the foundation of what we expect. So, all right, hang on. I think I'm gonna leave this in because I think that'll be
You
funny.
should. Oh yeah.
I think it'll be funny how that ties in. So, okay. So I said let's talk about the before, let's talk about the end, and then we'll talk about the end to a degree too. Tell me about your parents.
What about them exactly? I mean, so they
So, how do you see that your parents influenced your relationship?
so my parents were together for a long time when
Mhm.
I was growing up. They didn't officially divorce until I was about 16.
Right.
My mom was very much kind of growing up, very much you need to do what makes you happy.
Okay.
And so at some point she realized that she wasn't getting what she necessarily wanted out of the relationship, and I don't think my dad was either. And so she made that decision to I need to go do something different.
Okay.
So as I was going through my relationship, that's kind of what she was kind of putting in my brain and stuff like that. It was very much, I kind of watched how she's grown and the experiences that she's had.
Mhm.
And it kind of gave me the I don't want to say hope, but the idea and thought that there's more out there
Okay.
if you just go and find it. So if a lot of people they find one thing and for them that's it. They don't really see anything beyond that. And so that was kind of my intro into I think there's something beyond that I
Sure.
can go and find and that life's not going to end if I end this one thing.
So, do you think that was there even before you got married?
Probably just very deep down subconsciously.
Okay. Because I don't think anybody really goes into a marriage relationship, especially going, yeah, this is going to last about 5 years and I'll get out.
Mhm.
I mean, otherwise, why would you even say vows?
Yeah, exactly.
So, because I think it's interesting how what you experienced early in your childhood impacts what you expect. Because you talked about letting go of expectations,
Mhm.
that I think it impacts what you expect in a relationship. And then I think it also impacts how you experience that relationship in the midst of it too. How would that apply to you?
For what I experienced in the relationship,
Mhm.
trying to think of what to say on this because there's a lot. There's like 12 years of stuff here.
Sure.
I think I was kind of blind to a lot of it in a way. Like
Mhm.
in my mind, it was very much I am in this. I am. It wasn't until that I was like, maybe something's not what I want
Mhm.
towards the end that I was like, well, maybe there's other things. This was a very much, well, this is life. This is what I'm
Right.
doing. This is so I was definitely in that kind of stuck in that for a really long time.
Mhm.
I definitely had people being like, hey, maybe you should go explore other things, or maybe you would maybe be happier doing something else.
Right.
And I was just like, nope, this is life. This is what I've picked. This is, and just wasn't.
I think that's interesting that you say it that way because I think what happens to us early in life is you grow up in a certain environment and that is life. You see,
Mhm,
that's how it is, and this is what I expect, and this is what it means to be a mom, this is what it means to be a dad, this is what it means to be a female, this is what it means to be a male.
mhm,
You have all those influences on you. And I think it's what I think is interesting is a couple of things I think happen to us as we start to age. One is we start to either go into some form of school or education where we interact with other people that have different
mhm,
experiences, different expectations. And I think something when your brain goes, okay, which is it? Is it the way I grew up with? Is that life? Or is it what I see in other people?
mhm,
So I think that's one of the things that starts to occur. Um, and the other thing, it's you make choices too. And you go, okay, I'm either going to choose to go the life that I grew up in expecting, seeing,
mhm.
or I'm going to choose something different. So, how does that apply to you?
So
Did you end up in a marriage in what you kind of expected? It's like this is how life is, and so this is what I end up in.
I don't really know if I really went into life with those expectations.
Okay.
So at the beginning, I was still really new to relationships and
Mhm.
I just found somebody and I just clung on for dear life. I was very, very clingy in the beginning. I was very much like, I don't want to miss out on anything. Serious FOMO.
Okay.
Um, so
Now isn't that though kind of interesting in a way because if you have FOMO and you cling to one thing, doesn't
uh,
that automatically create FOMO?
Yeah, there was a problem there.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You're right.
It was a great start.
Okay.
So I already forgot what the original question was. I told you I'm very distractible today.
That's right. That's kind of how this process works. It's like we start in one direction and
Mhm.
go, oh, we're going to go around this rabbit hole. What I was asking is, do you think that, so here's what I think is that that expectation or this is what life is. I don't think that happens on a conscious level. I think it happens on an unconscious level that your brain just goes, this is how life is. And so this is what we expect.
Mhm.
So I think about it this way. If there wasn't marriage in our culture, would somebody create it? You get what I'm saying? Asking that
Yeah.
question. We do so much because, well, that's just what we do.
Mhm.
And very rarely do people ever even question that. Why do we do what we do?
Mhm. So my parents are divorced,
Mhm.
and then they're both either happily married or about to be.
Mhm.
And then around the same time that they were divorcing, my grandparents were also divorcing.
Okay.
So I think I saw that, you know, you can go through a relationship, you can give it your all, but then at some point it doesn't work. Some things just don't work.
Okay.
So I think that's what, you know, I kept going through. And there was a time period probably about 5 years ago that I was like, you know, is this something to continue? Is this something that we can work on? Is this
Right.
something? And then at some point you exhaust all of the options. And so you can either push through, like I know a lot of people do, they just push through, they're unhappy, and eventually they can find happiness. But I also know there's a lot of people out there that they go the rest of their lives and they're just not happy.
Right.
And it's not that there's never good times or anything. There's always good times, but sometimes you're just left wanting something different.
Mhm.
And so I think I kind of grew up subconsciously kind of with seeing that, hey, you can be in a relationship, you can give it your all, you can be comfortable, and then you can just throw yourself into the uncomfortable and see what else is out there.
Right.
Which I never think that's really how anybody should really necessarily go into things. Obviously, like you said, you don't go
Right.
into a marriage being like, oh, give this 5 years.
Right.
But it's always an option out there. You never have to be stuck with certain decisions.
Mhm.
I mean, even tattoos now. I mean, you don't have to be stuck with them like you used to be able to. So
Right.
I mean, like there are ways to reverse things.
Right. I find that interesting because I grew up in a culture that divorce was the big no-no.
Mhm.
So I know that. I know those things influence us and impact us. It's I even wonder sometimes too if we don't draw unknowingly and unconsciously draw to ourselves those type of situations. So I'm going to get a
Okay.
little weird for a sec
Okay, I
here.
like weird.
So think about this. Okay, so your parents are going through a divorce. Your grandparents are going through a divorce in an important time in your life.
Mhm.
Is there a part of you that goes, okay, well, this is what's going to happen? So you're actually attracted to somebody that the same scenario would play out unknowingly.
Interesting. Okay, I can kind of see because they always say that, you know, you attract kind of what you
Right.
think. I mean, it's entirely possible. I was actually talking to my sibling the other day, and God, how old was she? She was born around the time everything was kind of happening. So
Right.
for her, everything, this is how she grew up. She grew up with everything already being separated, and
Right.
so for her, whenever I told her about I was getting a divorce, she's like, you know, it was never in a thought for me on if it was ever going to happen. It was always a thought for me for when it was going to happen.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting
Right.
for her, kind of growing up with that on all of the major relationships, because
Mhm.
she barely knew me and I was in a relationship with this guy.
Right.
I think she was like 5.
Right.
So for her, relationships are just something to kind of, you keep them for a while and then you can just ditch them. It was what it seems like. So
Right.
I'm eager to kind of see how that progresses
Mhm.
in her life with kind of how she grew up with that. So
Right.
it's really interesting to see kind of how you grew up with it
Mhm.
versus kind of me, and then kind of for her. So
Right.
that's kind of where mine goes with that.
Well, so in some essence, we're moving beyond even relationships then too. It's just how your environment impacts you. I mean, there's this age old argument of nature versus nurture type
Mhm.
of concept. And I think there's another piece that's in there too. That's our choice. There is something within us that makes a choice, because you can have somebody that grows up in an environment where, like for my wife, divorce was rampant in her family. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. That's not who I want to be. And so I think there's still something within you that makes a choice too, that says, yeah, I'm going to either kind of stay within this or go against it or make my own pathway. I find it interesting how that impacts us. So, okay, you're in the midst of your relationship. What's that like? What would be one word you would summarize the whole thing with?
Monotonous.
Ooh, that's not a good word. Okay.
I really hope he doesn't watch this. I'm sorry.
Well, and to me, as I told you at the beginning, this isn't about, bagging on your ex. The point is talking about relationships, because I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is just be honest about what we think and feel in a way that I don't think any of us truly want to hurt other people. And we also want to be honest with ourselves. And I think sometimes it's hard to find that balance. So
I feel like it's a very interesting time for us to be having this conversation, because I'm so newly out of it and everything. But for me, in the midst of everything, I don't think I truly realized it. It was more kind of like a hindsight type thing. Though in the moment, I was just like, well, we're just very much same thing every day.
Right.
And so after a while, that gets very, very tiring. And I'm young, I want to go out and do things, and just kind of having the, life of, oh, I'm already aged, and I'm just every day just going home, just doing the same thing, laundry, dishes, those types of things, watching shows on the couch for hours. That just, for me, in the midst of it for a while, that was nice. But after a while, I think I just kind of got restless. And I wanted to go out and explore more and just do different things. And I think that was kind of a segue into, maybe this isn't what I want.
Okay. What did you want?
You're asking all the hard questions here today.
Have you ever known me to be different than that?
No. Wasn't quite sure what to expect exactly coming in here, but I knew it wasn't just going to be easy peasy.
I don't ask the surface questions.
I know.
And that's okay. It's okay that you don't have an answer too. And I think that's even my point of the question is sometimes we don't know. We don't know what we want. And my biggest thing, and out of everything that I do, really comes down to really this simple thing. I think we have a relationship with ourselves. We have communication with ourselves. And I think more often than not, it's communicating at ourselves as opposed to with ourselves.
Okay.
So I think we have a logical part of our being, which tends to relate towards an inner parent concept. We have an emotional aspect of our being, which tends to relate towards an inner child. And they don't tend to have healthy communication because the parent is not listening to what the child wants, and the child is not listening to the wisdom of the parent a lot of times. And so the fact that you can't answer that question means you haven't really been listening to yourself in a way.
That's what I've been trying to do. I've been taking a lot of intentional time trying to listen to books and trying to learn things and trying to really figure out myself. Because I think that's maybe where I don't really want to say went wrong, but getting into a relationship so soon after turning 18. I was still in high school. I just started my senior year, met him 2 weeks after, and I just attached myself. I didn't really have time to really know who I was and what I wanted. And so then I just created this identity of, oh, I am with this person. And so I didn't really have, in my opinion, kind of like a separate identity outside of that. It was just immediately from being in school to then being with this person.
So where do you think you learned that? Where did that develop to have that idea? You're going to walk away with this with more questions than answers, and it's okay.
We're going to have to get together again after this because
most of the people I'm doing podcasts with, I'm like, we're going to have to do a follow-up because
yes, please.
We're going to talk about stuff, and then it's going to sit on you and come back and go, oh, now I have the answer. And then I'll have more questions for you.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
where I necessarily learned a lot of it from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, so I mean, growing up, you hear stories from, parents and
Right.
grandparents, stuff like that, on how quickly after they turned a certain age or whatever that they got into a relationship. So that
Right.
could always be something that's in the back of your mind.
Right.
I was also rebellious.
Okay.
So my mom was very much, you need to not get in a relationship, you need to do this. And I'm just like, oh, here I am, attach myself to somebody.
Right.
So I don't know if subconsciously that's kind of what I was doing. I was
think
like, and I was like, I'm gonna make it work.
so much of that.
Probably.
Right. So I think there's another interesting piece that ties into relationships as well. And not a statement either way on your choices, because I think one of the things that happens too is when two people come together, there's always going to be a difference in what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the tension really comes down into what do you do with that? Because you want to go one way and your partner wants to go another way. And at some point they will diverge.
Mm-hmm.
And so you either choose to go, okay, you're going to go here and I'm going to go here, or you go, we're going to figure out how to do this together. And that's, again, no judgment either way. I find that an interesting tension that I see in all relationships is this, you're already having a competition in some essence inside yourself. And now you're having an outside person you're having a competition with as well.
Mm-hmm. And then they're also having the within themselves, and it's a great time.
Right.
I firmly believe that you need communication and compromise, because you can either decide, hey, we're going to go do separate things for a while and then we can go come back. But at the same time, be like, well, maybe we can try to figure this out and just kind of move through it together. I might get not completely what I want, but I get enough that I'm okay, and then vice versa. So I firmly believe that is very, very important in all aspects of relationships, no matter if it's with a partner or friend, anything like that, because
Absolutely.
it can't just all be one way, or, so, because then that leads to the conflict and splitting.
I had an interesting conversation with my wife recently. We were talking about money, and I don't know why. I mean, we've been married over 30 years, and this was kind of like the first time it hit me. I'm going, wait a minute. She has a different set of priorities when it comes to money than I do. And I'm like, well, duh, because I'm over here doing one thing with money and she's over here doing another, and we don't have communication, and we're fighting against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was real eye-opening to go, well, wow. And so I think, and it applies in all areas of life, I think that's why communication is so important, because the days when we're successful is she goes, here's what's really important to me in the day, and here's what's important to me. And we kind of go, okay, let's do a little of both, which is that compromise you talk about. So I think very few relationships have that awareness ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of what makes it difficult. The other part too is if you aren't taught how to communicate well, which I don't think very many people are, then it just adds to it. So, okay, so you jumped in early, partly maybe out of rebellion, partly out of I'm going to make it work, a determination. Was there a part of it that also I want to get out of the house and get away from this control factor?
Yeah, maybe that was another bit of rebellion. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's the hard part. There are so many factors into it. I think very few people really, I think we've been sold this bill of goods that, you're going to meet the exact right person. You're going to feel all these special feelings and it's just going to be bliss the rest of your life. That's not reality. Mm-hmm. That's not how any relationship works, much less a marriage relationship, which I think is the most challenging one of all. So you're in this relationship, you hit this point of monotony. What made the decision?
A lot of communication attempts that maybe just weren't. I think we were just on two different pages. Mm-hmm. And here I am approaching 30, and quarter life crisis. I don't know, but really just thinking about things. I mean, like, well, if I was to do this for another 10 years, mm-hmm. what would my state of mind be like? Would I be happy with this? Would I be content with life? Would I feel like I was missing out? Would I have FOMO for the last 10 years? Would I, So it was a lot of that, and towards the end there was just a lot of conversations,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of those conversations really kind of opened it up to maybe both of us could achieve things and find success if we weren't together doing the same thing every day, because then it would force us to branch out and go do different things and find the success where we want them to be in life.
Okay. Was it tough?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I am not very much a person for confrontation and
Right.
conflict, and bringing up that conversation was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Right.
Because in that, I mean, I was hurting. I hurt them. And it was a whole thing. And then throughout the entire process of trying to separate everything and then separate our fur children and everything, it was a lot of hurt. And a lot of feelings of not really liking each other in the moment. And then kind of getting kind of be amicable again. And so that's been kind of nice, but
Okay.
it's a rough start of the year. For sure.
Okay. So how are you now on the journey?
Better.
Mhm.
Now going through a whole bunch of different types of transition, ideas that are going out there, but as for this aspect of it, I'm healing. And
Okay.
I know it's gonna take a while, but things are looking different. They're looking up. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and I just kind of have to figure out where I want to go with it. So
Okay.
overall, most of that hurt and everything that's been kind of gone through and kind of been healed for the most part.
Okay.
I don't think it'll ever be fully healed, because it's a long time. You
Right.
love somebody, and it's always going to be there.
Right.
It just transitions.
Okay. You still looking to be in the marriage relationship?
I'm just going to just go with life,
Right.
and if something happens, it
Right.
happens.
Okay. So you're less planning.
Yeah, I am just at this point. I am just focused on trying to plan and figure out other aspects of my life. And as for relationships, I'm just going with the flow, just
Right.
having a good time, and
Gotcha.
just trying to see what happens. So I'm not out here with a marriage,
Right.
destination.
Right. What's the biggest thing you've learned?
I really need to listen to how I'm feeling, because if I ignore that, then I can't be happy.
Okay.
Because if I have any like inner turmoil or anything that I don't try to go fix, or if it's caused by something that's external, if I have any of that and I don't take any action to try to fix it or communicate either with myself or with somebody else, then that's never going to achieve peace.
Okay. I think one of the flaws that people make when it comes to relationships is that when I find the right person, they'll make me happy. And I don't believe anybody can make you happy. And I think the real issue for many of us is we're not happy within ourselves, and the other person just becomes a mirror.
I believe that somebody can bring you joy.
Yes.
But they can't be the main and the root cause for your happiness.
Right. I believe they can enhance your experiences. They aren't the cause of it, because I think ultimately we are the cause within ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make going into relationships is they think this person is going to make all this stuff that I feel about myself go away. It doesn't work that way.
I've heard a lot of people and a lot of quotes that say something along the lines of, how can you ever expect to love somebody else if you can't love yourself?
Bingo.
I agree, and I also disagree with that at the same time.
Okay.
I feel like even if you don't necessarily love yourself, you can still have love for somebody, but you always have to be working on being able to love yourself.
I agree too. I think that, so there's what I've heard called the law of sustainability. I think because like the love of a parent to a child, you have this love that somehow comes out of nowhere. I think the difference is though, you can't constantly sustain it if you don't have that love for yourself, because I think you can only give what you have. And if you don't love yourself, you can't consistently and sustainably give it to somebody else.
Okay.
Because there will always come up something that triggers you. And as long as it triggers something you feel about you, that emotion will come out into that relationship.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I get what you're saying too, because there is an aspect that somehow it's almost like we can step outside of ourselves and give. It's like my viewpoint is we can temporarily tap into our truest essence and give that to somebody. The problem is we sink back into this false viewpoint of ourselves, which is what creates that lack of love for ourselves. And then that blocks the giving because it's like you can't long-term fully authentically give it all the time until you have that within yourself.
Okay. I understand that. Okay. I like that point of view on it.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge of relationships is they're a mirror and we don't like the mirror. We do not like what we see. And I find it funny how many times we will tend to point out in somebody else something that's really our own issue.
Oh, 100%. Projection is a real problem.
It's absolutely an issue. Not that I ever did it or my wife would ever do it, but
Oh, never.
No, because we know that's not true. So, okay. So we've talked about before, we've talked about during, we've kind of talked about after. What wisdom can you share?
I mean, communicate.
Okay.
And if something isn't making you happy, you are the only one that can truly do something about it.
Okay. So that's a part I want to tie back into. Tell me your definition of happiness.
So I've been doing all the soul searching. And so it's been continuously changing over the last 8 months.
Right.
But currently, happiness kind of looks like inner peace.
Okay.
That's what it currently is. If
I
you ask me
understand.
next time, it might be something totally different. But inner peace is currently the final answer.
Would you like to know my definition?
Yes.
Peace of mind, joy of heart, love of soul.
Okay.
And what I think it is, I think the problem when we talk about happiness is we think it's a feeling. And I don't think it's a feeling. I think it's a state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, especially with the last piece being love, I think love has gotten so watered down, so distorted. And I say this to a lot of people. When you say, I love pizza, no, you don't.
Mm-mm.
You enjoy the taste of pizza. It's pleasurable. That's not love. And I think we think love is a feeling. And I think I've come to the place that love isn't really much of a feeling. It's a doing that leads to a state of being.
Okay.
And even more than that, I think it actually comes out. My son and I have this conversation a lot. We do a lot of stuff to attempt to create a certain state or feeling. So we're doing to be instead of being and let the do come out of the being. Make sense?
Yes.
Follow me?
I think so.
Ponder on it. We'll talk about it again next time.
Yeah.
But I think that applies to marriage too, that I think we do all this stuff to make a relationship instead of just be and allow the relationship to occur.
I've been kind of experiencing that with some of my other friendships and stuff like that. Instead of trying to obviously you still have to put effort and everything like that into life, but just honestly just existing and then the good things happen.
Right. It's learning to flow with life instead of trying to, so I'm going to go back to your FOMO because I think the most important challenge in that whole phrase is the first word. Anytime we go into fear, that's not healthy. If you operate out of fear, you cannot have health. It's not possible. So, and I think that gets into that place too, is when we are afraid, we tend to try to control. And there's a whole lot of that in relationships. In fact, one of the things I've seen within myself, I look back and I go, how many things have I done in an attempt to create a certain response out of my wife instead of just being? And just because if I can fully love myself, then I think relationships are more about what we can give than what we get. And I think that's another piece that people make a mistake into is they go into it for what they can get out of it as opposed to what they can give into it.
It's kind of that giver's gain kind of mindset of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird how that might tie in there.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So your wisdom, if you could write a book, what would you title it?
Ooh.
You like these questions, don't you?
Yes and no.
I know.
Yes, because, what would I name it? No,
Right.
because, oh God, I have to come up with a name. It would be a rough draft for years that would not have a title. The book
Mhm.
itself would be done, but it would not have a title.
Okay. You wouldn't call it Leaving the Monotony.
Ooh,
That's not very nice. But
no.
monotony isn't necessarily an indication of your partner or spouse, though.
Mm-mm.
Monotony is your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing I look at too is the experience isn't the issue. It's our perception of the experience that's the issue.
I don't think it was what I quite wanted
Uh-huh.
at that stage in my life.
Right.
Because when I think of, in my opinion, on what your 20s are supposed to be like,
Right.
settling down and just doing all your housework and everything, and just was not my idea. So I think that was kind of my.
What was your idea? And it wasn't. So that's funny because that means there was a part of you that goes, okay, wait a minute. You made a choice and did some decisions that actually went against what your idea was.
I mean, we had a good time and just kind of chilling there and everything. But after a while, just watching TV was just kind of, what just kind of dragged on. And occasionally we would go out and do other things, but I think I want to get out and I want to explore more. And
Okay.
I don't really feel like that was an option for us together, but I feel like we can kind of both go explore more and travel and kind of get what we want out of life separately.
So
But
you would consider yourself more of an adventurer.
I think so. I think I'm getting there. At the beginning, I don't think I was.
Okay.
But I think I kind of morphed into, or at least accessed, the adventurous part of me
Okay.
kind of during that. And that was kind of, well, hey, maybe this isn't what I want. I don't think I want to be settled down right now. Or if we are, well, let's go out and just travel a lot more. But with our situation and everything that we had, that just really wasn't an option for us. So
I also like to ask the question, when we want what we want, why do we want what we want? Why do you think you wanted more than what you were experiencing?
I mean, because the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah, except you have to mow it and there's still dog poop in there as well.
Yeah, I know. And then you look at the other side you just came from and be like, wow, that's really green.
That's right.
But
which that really kind of brings me back to my main point is, and not anything against what you went through, but it's just, I think the real issue lies within ourselves.
I truly do. The next thing I was about to say was, I think it's an issue with myself, because I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want out of life. Is this my purpose? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And even now I'm over here like, what's my next step? What are my options? What will get me the success of where I want to be, but where do I want to be? And so it's currently for me, I mean, it's constantly changing. And I have absolutely no idea. And I'm just kind of going with the flow. And this is where the flow has brought me.
I think you can, let me ask you this simple question. Do you love yourself?
I'm getting there. It's a very slow process. But I am slowly finding more love for myself every day. In different ways. So it's a very, very slow process. And sometimes I have more love for myself than other days, because some days are better than others, but it's very, very slow process that I don't think I was actually able to start until we separated.
Okay.
Not that I didn't have the space to do it previously, but I think this kind of forced me to just sit with myself. And
you think you would have stayed too comfortable if you stayed there?
I think so.
Okay. Because I think that's the other question. When it comes to being happy, you can't be happy if you don't love yourself. And you can't love yourself if you're not happy. I think they go hand in hand. I think that's that mysterious thing that people are searching for. That, I mean, I think about it from a perspective of parents want their kids to be happy, and everybody just wants to be happy, but nobody really has an answer what that is. And I really think it's when you fully love yourself, when you are just being, that's where it is. That I think it's. I think we look for all this outside stuff to make it, and it doesn't come from outside of you. It comes within you, and so really, if anything, this, like everything else, this is a conversation about our relationship with ourselves. And I think that's what everybody struggles with, is to have a healthy relationship with themselves. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, how can you have a healthy relationship with anybody?
Exactly. And you mentioned being comfortable, and sometimes growth just cannot come from where you're comfortable. So anybody that is feeling stuck, I guess advice for me would be to just kind of figure out what's around in your life. And is that something that you feel comfortable, or is that something where you feel like you can grow? And if you're not in a space where you feel like you can grow, then growth comes from the uncomfortable. So sometimes you have to throw yourself into the uncomfortable in order to start growing.
Yeah. Well, that gets into the fear aspect, because fear always wants to, the default of the brain is to always keep us in the known and the safe and the familiar. And the unknown is uncomfortable. And that's the only place you can get growth.
And on the topic of relationships, I'm not out there saying that anybody in a relationship, if you can't grow, ditch them. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But you can absolutely, in a relationship, you can grow together.
Yes.
So there are some people that they can grow together really well. And at some point you have to kind of grow apart a little bit, but then you grow back together. It's coming back together. That's the important part.
Well, and like you said, you didn't come to your decision lightly or easily. It was a very tough decision for you. And I think marriage relationship is the hardest relationship there is, because it is so personal. It is so intimate. It is so, one of the things we fight against anyway is vulnerability. And it's the most vulnerable place you are at as well. So it's the story that everything's just roses and rainbows is not reality.
No.
So, well, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share when it comes to relationship? Anything from your experience that?
Honestly, just never stop working on yourself, because that working on yourself will influence the relationships around you for the better. At least so far of what I found in the last several months is working on myself has really enriched other relationships in my life, whether it's with friends or family. Like even my sister's been kind of picking up little nuggets of things that I've kind of been going through, and she's just like, you're so much happier, and because I've been doing a lot of work on myself, and so my relationship with her is better. And so I mean, always be working on yourself. Yeah,
it's a lifelong journey. So I'm going to also give you a chance. You want to give a little plug about what you do? We didn't even talk about what you do. Of course, you're kind of in all over the place there. I mean, that kind of affects that too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But currently I do health insurance. I help.
I love it. It's so fun.
I truly enjoy it. I love helping people, and helping them navigate it and helping them find something that works for them. So anybody who's individuals, or that's to honestly just anybody that needs to figure out what their options are. I've had people that come to me with their group plan, and they're like, nobody explained this to me. Can you help? And I'll walk somebody through like their group plan. I just purely like to help people. So
it's interesting where we end up in life. And I think a lot of times people, this is a little deviation away. I think it ties back in though, is I got to find the right career that fulfills my purpose. I think the truth is you can fulfill your being in any career. I mean, I think there are certain things that tend to flow easier with your state of being, but if you're just being yourself, you can do any job in a way. That it's more about who you are, because all of it ultimately is helping other people. It's how do you use your best gifts to help others? So give you a chance to give you a quick plug for your company, and then we'll wrap it up.
Perfect. Yeah. For all of your health insurance needs, with Wolf Financial, I'm not hard to talk to. A lot of my clients will be like, oh yeah, go see my fun dinosaur insurance lady, is the text I usually get. Be like, oh yeah, I was told that you're fun and you wear dinosaurs. And I was like, okay, we're wearing dinosaurs today. It's normally what I get. Very no pressure, just genuine advice on what aspect to go with for you, your family, for any of your benefit needs, whether it's traditional, non-traditional. That's kind of what I'm here for. I'm just here to just talk you through your own decision.
It's kind of like we had fun talking today. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. Give you some time to sit on some of those
really
questions.
Look forward. Yeah.
And then we'll do a little deeper dive. So thanks for joining us here on Mind Shift. Join me next time when we'll have another special guest, I'm sure.
Thank you for joining the Mind.Shift.Podcast today. If this resonates, Dr. Farney would love to hear from you. Leave a review, message him on social media, or visit www.docerelifecenter.com to learn more about Dr. Farney and his approach to wellness. Until next time, keep alchemizing. The content of this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional mental health, medical, or therapeutic advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While Dr. Craig is passionate about emotional healing and personal growth, he is not acting as your personal therapist, counselor, or healthcare provider in this format. If you're experiencing significant emotional distress, mental health challenges, or physical ailments, he strongly encourages you to seek support from a licensed professional in your area. By listening, you agree to take full responsibility for your own well-being, decisions, and actions. You're the expert of your experience. This podcast is simply here to help support and inspire your healing journey.